Hey guys, and welcome back to the Alice Podcast. Today I'm here with Claire.
Hi.
We haven't been doing that many podcasts lately, but I love doing podcasts with Claire, so we're going to have her on today. You're asking me if I do consultations in person for shows, right?
Yeah.
So you get questions sometimes asking if I can see them in person?
So in a few inquiries, especially with the busy season that's just started, a lot of athletes are asking if you do consultation in person. So if they can meet you at shows for a consultation, it's easier for them instead of by the phone. I know you've been doing a few of them, but I know that this season your schedule is fully packed. Will you do some? And if you do some, how will you manage with the in-person check-in and also all the shows that we're going to do with the athletes?
Typically, I will see our athletes. Let's say we have an athlete that lives at a place where I'm going. I'll typically see them in person to see how their physique looks and quickly talk to them in person about our plans and how they're looking and what we can improve on. But it needs to match with my schedule. So let's say my show is Saturday morning and you want to see me at like 11 a.m. Saturday. I can't do that because I have athletes competing. Ideally, you would come fasted either the day before or early in the morning on show day if I don't have like 20 athletes competing, then we can work something out. I typically work something out with athletes that are on our team and want to see me at shows. I really prefer not to be on show day and either 1 or 2 days out because it's a lot easier for me and then I can prioritize my athletes competing. I also have done a lot of in-person consultations with athletes at shows too that are not on my team and that want to join. Typically, I post where I'm traveling to on my story. If you see that and you want to meet me in person, let me know. We could figure out like time or day as long as it's not on show day so I can focus on my athletes. If you want an in-person consultation with me and you live near where I'm traveling to, look at my stories. I typically post where I'm going to be, or you can even ask me and DM me. But, yeah.
So you could figure out a time frame and then...
Don't wait till one day out and message me. You asked me, how does it work for check-ins online for shows? How do I work with athletes that are competing at other shows, competing at shows that I'm not at? We have 8 to 20 athletes competing every single weekend until October. Team Alice made the most pro cards in the world for online check-ins for the last 3-4 years. I work really well with coaching athletes online. I typically travel every weekend to either a pro show or a pro qualifier where I have a lot of athletes. The rest I'll do online. Starting 3 to 4 weeks out, they'll send me check-ins every 2 to 4 days, and then peak week, they're sending me check-ins every day. And I'm checking their physique every day, making adjustments to their diet or what we need to change quickly with their posing, small changes. We're also adjusting the food, like if they need to carb them up a bit more or increase water, reduce water, etc., to peak them properly. On show day, they'll check on me fasted and every 90 minutes, sending me videos or weight and pictures every 90 minutes on show day. So I can adjust their food, make sure they're peaking properly after pre-judging, send them a reverse diet the next day if we decide that they want to go into off-season afterwards. But I'm very good with online peaking and coaching athletes online. I'm doing this since 2016.
So many years.
And obviously I can't be at 5 different shows at, the same weekend. And we have athletes competing at least 3 to 6 shows every weekend. Last weekend in Toronto, we had 10 athletes there, and I had like 2 athletes at another show and 3 athletes at another show and 2 athletes at another show. So there's 4 shows going on at the same time.
Different shows and different
time zones. So like I just explained with Victoria, like in Denmark competing on Friday. I have 5 athletes competing today in Dallas, and then I have 2 athletes competing tomorrow in Europe. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I have athletes competing. And a lot of these Asian and European shows, they'll compete on either Sunday or Friday, and sometimes like Tuesdays. A lot of the China shows are competing on Tuesdays or Thursdays. I'm like, what's going on?
So it's a busy schedule for you this season. Like we started with the bang a few weeks ago, and last show in Toronto was amazing. We did a really great weekend. But like you mentioned, you're traveling almost every weekend, and we have more and more athletes for specific shows like Universe. We have a lot more athletes than comparing to last year.
I think last year, didn't we have like 16? I think this year we have about the same.
Really?
We made 6 pro cards last year, but I think we had like 15 girls or something like that. I gotta check.
We are, for the North American, last year we had like about 22, 23 athletes. This year,
it was a 2-day show. It's usually at these big American shows, like the pro qualifiers, we have between like 12 to like 20. And the Canadian shows will have between like 5 to 12, depending.
It's a big show at Toronto.
Yeah, we had a lot. Our amateurs this year are so strong. We have so many good amateurs, and it's true every year, but this year is even more.
We have a lot of athletes that have been working with us during their off season. They're strong.
I've been working with them. A lot of the athletes that work with me all year, I'm able to prepare them in the off season, get their posing down and work on their symmetry all year so that once it's time to compete, they're like really, really good. And those are typically the athletes that'll do the best, the ones that are working all year to be really good. The ones that join like 12 weeks out, unless they have like really good genetics, it's like a lot tougher because you have a lot less time to prepare. And the off season is where you're making all your progress, where you're really growing your physique, where your food's high, your training is really good.
Yeah.
So that's when it's really important to work in the off season with a good coach so that you're not wasting time. You don't want to just do a prep for 4 months and then take 8 months off and then rejoin 4 months. That's not how you're going to make consistent progress. Even my top Olympians, I'm working with them all year. Issa is checking with me all year. Maxine has been checking with me every week for the past 2 years.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It shows in their progress. And talking about 12 weeks prep, we receive a lot of inquiries. When you inquire about a show that you're going to do less 16 weeks out, ideally you will have a consultation with James to ensure that your goals are aligned with your actual physique and progress. And we will work accordingly.
I would say 50%, maybe even 70% of the time, athletes say, hey, I want to keep it in 12 weeks. I tell them you need like a year.
Yeah.
Some girls we get were like 8 weeks out and they look really good. I think they could turn pro. It's very, very rare. I'll take them if their posing is reasonable and I can feel like I can get them ready in 8 weeks, but it's rare because it's a lot of extra work for me too. If I have to prepare you in a very short period of time, I gotta send you all these documents, check your training videos, fix your posing. There's a lot of things that we have to condense into a very short period of time and then lean you down, learn your body.
It's not just about leaning you.
No.
Like prep is not just you need to get leaner. There's so many other things that we need to work on that we have been working with our active athletes during the off season. Like you mentioned it, you're posing. Are you training to failure? Is your training good? Are you pushing to the max? So there's many, many aspects. You're a vacuum.
Learning your body. Like let's say your quads are too big or too small, or your delts are too big or too small. You can't really change that in 8 weeks. But if we have all year to work on that to fix your balance, then you're going to be in a much better position than having to, let's say, oh my God, your delts are too big. We got to shrink them in 6 weeks.
Work on your posing to make them less.
The worst, your posing is way off and they're 8 weeks out.
Because the habits are already...
They're already set.
Yes.
Right? And that's when you work on in the off season. To break those habits is when you're practicing the posing. It takes a lot of time. So yeah, we've had a few athletes join last minute, like 6 to 8 weeks out, and I'll make them pro, but it's rare. I would say 70% of the time, I'll be like, you're not even close to being ready for a show in 12 weeks. You need 8 to 10 to 12 months. We should start off season now. And if we start off season now, you'll be ready by next June. I'm not going to put athletes on stage when I know that they don't look good. They're not going to place good and the experience is not going to be good because they're nowhere near being able to compete. I'm not going to take an athlete's money and throw them on stage knowing that they're going to fail. I'm not going to set anyone up for failure.
That's one of the feedback, because every time I refer an athlete to you for the consultation, I do a follow. If they don't write me back, I do a follow-up with them. How was your consultation with James? Are we starting prep or what's going on? Often they will say, I already knew I wasn't ready for my show, but I wasn't feeling so sure because with my old coach, I felt like I was not ready. Now I'm ready to start working and we'll decide when we step on stage. So it's good.
It's very rare that I'll tell an athlete they're not going to be ready, let's say in like 12, 14 weeks. And they'll be like, well, I'm going to compete anyways. Like they usually like come to me because they know I'm going to be honest with them. And then the ones that do go against my advice and end up competing, they don't do well. They're not going to go on stage and start like going pro if I tell them you need a year to compete, so they'll be like, oh, well, maybe already committed to the process and I just want to step on stage for fun. Message me after you're done your show and then we can work together. So we had an athlete too, like join like 10 days out from a show. Remember? Did she end up joining back or what happened? Or did message us back yet or not yet?
No.
So she joined like 10 days out and I was just like, listen, your posing is fucked. Everything's fucked. Do your regional show and your Toronto pro show and then I'll start coaching after. I don't have energy or time to put into getting you stage lean in 10 days, fix all your posing, fix your sim. There's so many things we got to do in 10 days. It's not happening. Just go on the stage like you were doing before, and then I'll start working with you after you're done these 2 shows that are happening in 10 days and 2 weeks. I was like, I'm not doing this right now. So question we had, since you're pregnant and it's very, very fantastic. I know you've been trying for a long time. You're halfway through, you said, right?
Well, today's recording, outfit.
It's crazy. You're going to be the best mom. I'm very excited for you. So calorie deficit / training while pregnant or breastfeeding. Are you training right now or what are you doing?
Oh, yes, I am training. I have someone who was pregnant before, Cynthia Benoit. That was one of our athletes. She did me a custom workout. It's different, obviously, because I used to train I like to lift heavy. So I have to change the way I train because there's exercise I can't do anymore. try to not put that much pressure on my shoulder. If one day I'm tired and I don't feel like I want to train, I go for a walk. I try to stay active, but it's different. In my case, I needed to switch that mentality.
You're not going to be squatting and deadlifting. Like when I see those videos of girls lifting like 300-400 pounds and they have a huge belly.
Everyone is different and they have different, each doctor have different thinking. Well, the doctor that's following me, she told me, if you've been training all your life, it's okay for you to keep training the same thing, but obviously in our sport, you have to change a few things. If you've been running on your life and you do like marathons and stuff like that, you can still run and do marathon.
You're not going to injure the baby that way. But if you're
Because
squatting
you're
and deadlifting,
used to do
I
it.
mean, yeah.
You never train.
So you're not going to go into jiu-jitsu or karate right now, no? You're not going to do any wrestling or anything?
No, but I have my background of judo, but that's a long time ago. The first weeks I was pregnant, I was able to train. After that, I didn't train at all for many weeks because I was so sick. So I couldn't train.
You always really take care of your body.
Your meal plan when you're pregnant, you need to really be careful because people think you need to eat more. In the first trimester, it's about 150 calories more a day.
That's nothing.
Yeah, so first trimester is the same food that you eat.
Is that what your doctor told you?
Yeah.
I never knew the exact number.
So it's about 150 calories. And the second trimester should be around 300 calories more a day. And the third trimester, 450.
Tense because the baby is going to be what, like 6 to 10 pounds? You don't have to eat 2,000 calories more a day to feed a 7-pound baby. 150 to 500 calories makes a lot more sense actually because it's based on the size.
And it's, I mean, you just need to eat 3 dates. And you hit your target already. So
The baby's just eating 3 dates. The baby is like, it's like, feed me more than 3 dates.
But I mean, the first trimester for me it was hard because everything that I like to eat, everything that I enjoy eating, I was looking at the food and I was like, I'm not hungry. The first trimester, I was not hungry. I was force feeding myself because you need to feed your baby.
Yeah.
At one point, I was like, can I take a protein shake one day? There's controversy about protein shake. Can you not? But at one point, I'm not eating. So I need to feed myself. Sometimes I took a protein shake because it's either that or nothing. To try to eat healthy at the same time, it plays in your mind. I don't want to take too much weight. I don't want to look fat. But at one point, you know that it's temporary. It's for a good cause. And I'll get back in shape after that anyway.
I feel like you're going to be not fat at all.
But the weight is okay. They say that usually a pregnancy should be about 25 to 35 pounds for a normal pregnancy.
What are you at now, right?
Last time I was about 8 pounds.
Okay. The question was, should you be in a calorie deficit while you're pregnant? For sure not, obviously. So when girls are pregnant, they want to like train with me. I'm like, listen, like, it's very different. You can't be in a calorie deficit. You can't be trying to lean down or eat extra calories to the baby. I don't have enough experience with this to be comfortable enough to coach someone while they're pregnant. It's like there's certain foods you can't eat and like things like that too. And I don't have enough experience to do that.
Even me, I'm learning every day. I'm like, can I eat this? And I had this conversation with Alex during our trip. I'm like, you can't eat this. I'm like, yes, I can.
Like shellfish, I don't know.
It was like seafood. I'm like, yeah, I'm allowed to eat seafood if it's cooked. I can't. So she's like, well, shrimp, I could because it's cooked. There's so many things, different cheese, different like, at one point I was like, I want to eat pizza, but I'm not allowed to eat pepperoni. I'm like, can I eat pizza?
There's like billions of people in the world, for lack of a better word, and everyone just has babies anyways, and they just figure it out. It's like, and the babies live and stuff too.
But it's so different. I was talking with my mom. She was like, this is
new,
Yeah, because when I was pregnant of you, I didn't need to think about this, except alcohol and smoking cigarettes.
Those like the things where it's like everyone knows, but the other things is just like, I think it's like a first world thing. You're thinking like, you know, some like very poor areas, like in certain countries, they like care about just eating whatever they can. So the next thing we'll get into will be sweating while practicing posing / flexibility. Flexibility is a huge part of posing. And if you lack, especially lower back flexibility or hip rotation flexibility, you're going to have a hard time posing. And that's something you really need to be working on your whole off season and in prep as well to be able to perfect your posing. If you can't arc your lower back, I mean, how are you going to do a back pose?
Not going to be a good back pose. It's not going to be great. Like you want your lumbar to be, you know, really arched so you can push your glutes out and it doesn't look like you're leaning over and bending over all the way. It's a skill that you have to develop through flexibility for sure. Yes.
And The other thing that was mentioned was like, should you be sweating while you're posing? If you practice a lot and your cardio is good while you're posing and your muscles aren't extremely sore and stiff while you're posing because you have so much practice, then you're not going to be sweating that much. If I have an athlete and they're one day out and I have them in the room in front of me and they're posing and they're drenched in sweat,
there's something wrong.
you practice your posing at all. You didn't practice. It's the same thing with bodybuilders, like open bodybuilders. I remember when I was bodybuilding, I was posing, it was the hardest thing ever and you're sweating. But if you practice and it's like you're a professional at it, you can do it a lot easier. If you look at the Olympia, a lot of these guys are sweating on stage and they don't have the cardio and their stomach's out all the time. They didn't practice posing enough.
You're able to feel them breathing heavily.
If you practice enough, you're going to be used to that type of cardio. It's like having someone that's running on a Stairmaster for 20 minutes every day for a year, and then someone who does that once every 3 months, put them both on a Stairmaster for 20 minutes and see both of their bodies, how they react. The one that hasn't done it is going to be a lot more tired. They probably won't be able to finish. They're going to be breathing. They're going to be sweating. The other one is going to be like clockwork because they've already practiced this every single day. You see that a lot even in bikini too. If you practice angling towards the head judge, keeping your chest up, your butt out, your weight on your glutes and looking to the judge angling properly is very difficult, especially to hold. You see a lot of girls break. They'll start leaning forward, their stomach is out, their chest is forward, their arms moving, hiding their glutes. That athlete didn't pose enough and didn't build the habits enough.
Especially in their overall, we can see it when they don't know between few athletes or which placement. And they ask the lady to pose on the side. If they don't practice enough, they'll be moving and readjusting and they will start to make mistakes because they didn't practice enough. And they start to sweat.
Especially at the high level, like with the Olympia.
Yeah.
In bikini too, but bodybuilding also. Steve Weinberger runs them through so many rounds to see, because two people are so close, he just sees which one's going to give up first. He says, I wanted to wear them both out and see which one lasts the longest. Yeah, because if two athletes are really close and you can't make a decision, how are you going to make a decision? Run them through the posing, walk them to the back, walk them to the front, see which ones have their glutes drop. If you have two girls that are really close and they turn to the back and make you walk, one of them is going to have a better walk. One of them, the glutes are going to be out, they're going to be tight, they're going to be high, and the other one's going to drop their glutes, landing with their heels first. The judging is done. If you're trying to win overall or winning your pro card or you're at the Olympia, when they make you walk to the back, that is such a huge factor on determining which of the two athletes that are very similar is better, because you can see everything. How dense the glutes are, if they drop, if there's any skin, if they're not in condition, if they're too lean with striations at the top of your glutes, like that tells the whole story. So you need to work on perfecting your walk to the back. Tyler made a video of Amy and Laura Lee at the Arnold. Laura Lee's walk to the back was very poor and she dropped her glutes and her glutes weren't dense and Amy's glutes were up and out. And Tyler's like, I had Amy winning from the walk to the back. Amy lost with a 1-point difference. So that almost costed Laura Lee the Arnold win just because she didn't walk to the back of the stage properly. That's what Tyler said in his critique videos. It's extremely important at every level, whether you're trying to win overall on a regional show or trying to get your pro card or going to Olympia or winning a pro show. Don't sweat the small details. Work on how you look on the side of the stage. Like make sure you're angled to the judge. I talked to Tyler and Sandy backstage at Pittsburgh with Valeria. I was like, you need to work on angling better to the head judge when you're on the side of the stage. They can't see you. Your shoulder's huge like this. Your waist is not angled towards the head judge. You're looking over there in the audience. I said, come over here. So we went backstage. I asked Sandy, I said, look at these pictures. Does this make a difference if you can't see the athlete with their correct posture in the front pose while they're on the sidelines? If their delt looks like this, she's like, of course it makes a difference. Tyler said the same thing. He's like, if I look over and I see that, that's in my head now. So it makes a difference. When you're on the stage, they're looking. Sandy and Tyler both confirmed at 2 different times to Valeria and me, I already knew, but I wanted to show her from the head judges Olympia that this does make a difference. They both said it makes a difference. So don't sweat the small details. And like, you're on the sideline looking at C-bump, trying to find C-bump in the audience or whatever over there, or your grandma, and you're like posing over there. Look at the head judge, pose as if you're in the comparison rounds in the middle and angle towards them. Make sure your waist looks the smallest. Make sure you're not hiding your glute. Make sure your shoulders are high and level. Make sure your chest's up. Sandy said too, sometimes there's a call out of 8 at the Olympia or even a pro show or whatever, and she needs like one more girl, right? She says, I'm looking on the sidelines. I'm looking to see. And whoever looks the best, I'm going to call. You know what I'm saying? So it matters. It definitely matters. And then sometimes she'll see a girl that it looks really good and she thinks, well, I missed her. I'll bring her in. So she's like, okay, actually number 166, come to the front. It does make a difference. If you're getting yourself blocked on the side and there's a girl in front of you and you're high your glute, and you're there with your stomach out, you literally submit yourself.
You look defeated
yourself and you literally give yourself a 0% chance to be called back in. All these small details make a difference. Don't just focus on your front back pose. Focus on your transitions, your walk to the back, your walk to the front. Make sure you're not just like, you look like you're stiff with no shape from the walk to the front too. Make sure your hips are moving. You have a nice shape. It makes a difference, all of these small details. And a lot of athletes just don't focus on these small things. If you're on Team Atlas, we're very anal with all of these small details because makes a difference. When my girls in the overall or winning all these pro cards, all these small details that my athletes are practicing that the other athletes they're competing against are not practicing.
From team alphas, they're in the lineup for the overall and they're competing.
Yeah, it's game over at that point. So don't sweat the small details when it comes to posing as a bikini athlete, because once again, you have a front and back pose. You don't have 8 poses like a bodybuilder. The same thing with a tan. If your skin is extremely white and your tan sucks every time, I don't care if you go on stage looking like Jennifer Dory. You're going to lose. The whole presentation matters. If you have a terrible suit that doesn't fit, your tan is white and your hair isn't good, but your physique is great, your glutes are great and round, you're in good condition, and your posing is reasonable, your package still sucks because everything else is wrong, right? So don't just do all of the hard work, which is the gym, the cardio, the diet, and then skip on everything else. Do the posing, make sure your suit's good, make sure your tan is perfect, make sure all these things are in check, because those all count towards scoring, right? If you have a girl on stage and her tan is disgusting, good luck winning overall in that show. It's not going to happen. I don't care how good you look, because it's like other girl just looks more polished than you. That term polish and the it factor encompasses those details too, like the good tanning, the good posing, the hair to makeup too. When I was coaching Jen Dor, we had tanning issues for 2 years and we finally figured it out. Tan was always white and you can't see her proper conditioning. It just washes her out. A bad tan can really wash your whole physique out and look like shit. Make sure your skin prep is done. Make sure you're not too pale. Go UV tanning if you need to. Make sure you're darker. That's going to help you so much. When someone goes on stage and their tan is impeccable, their makeup and hair is really good, they're in shape, they know how to pose, their glaze is good, it's like, fuck it, you nailed everything. You're going to be a lot harder to beat than someone who's off in one of those aspects.
But this is something we
cover.
Yeah,
I've updated all our tanning documents because I made a realization that like girls are like very pale. I'm not going to give away the secrets, but I made a big realization recently. We need to make sure every athlete is extremely consistent with their tanning, because this makes a difference. You can do all the work, and if your tan sucks on stage, you're done. So we need to, it's another detail I have to cover that I'm sure a lot of people are not covering, that it's not just like, oh, do your skin prep and stuff. No, there's a lot of other details that we cover to make sure the athlete has a perfect tan that's going to be, that's enforced going forward for every athlete. Every athlete is going to know about it now. And so I want to keep ensuring that all of our athletes have an advantage over all the other athletes, covering all the small details. And that's how you create more winners. One of the questions I got was your goal for Team Alice in the future. I want to win the Olympia one day eventually with an athlete, because I've done everything else. And I also want to keep making the most pro cards every year in the world until I retire. So now we're 3 years in a row. We're going to get 4 years in a row this year. I already know.
Clips.
And I want to do this until I retire. And I think it's very feasible as long as I stay ahead of the game and I don't slow down and I keep improving. These are small details that I can work on besides posing, training, and cardio. These small details are going to help my athletes be a step above and a level above everyone else. And that's how we're going to keep making the most pro cards, because the sport evolves every year. New coaches come up, but as long as you don't get lazy and stay compliant with what you're already doing and you're continuing to advance everything, which we've done every single year. We've never just had a year where we're like, don't update things. We're always constantly working together as a team to
update documents, update the protocol.
Yeah, send posing videos for our clients. Like there's so many different things we learn and that we realize through competing with I have such an advantage because I've coached hundreds of girls every year and I learn things from them too. And when I see consistent patterns with some of them, I'm like, fuck, we can actually maybe fix this on a bigger scale for all my athletes. And that gives everyone else an advantage too. So the next question we had was, how do you deal with your self-worth, whether you place good or bad? First of all, you need to realize you're going to have highs and lows in the sport, and everyone is going to lose eventually if you keep competing. There's no matter what. So let's say like you do really good at a show, you win like an overall at a regional show, and then you go to the pro qualifier and you come third. That sucks. It's going to hurt because you were at the top and now you came third. Or let's say like 1 year, like you do a pro qualifier in Toronto, an athlete, she came first place in her class at Toronto last year, but it was a different judge. And then this year she came 5th place and she was like, oh, fuck, I did all this work this year and I came first last year and I came 5th this year. I was like, it's a different scenario because it's a different head judge, right?
Yes.
And it's a totally different lineup in your class. Your physique is obviously better this year than last year. It's just a different scenario that you win. So girls are like, oh, I had an athlete recently like, oh, I placed third at this show, like a pro show, and then I came 6th. Like my physique is much worse. I'm like, no, like that's not how it works. Like it's a totally different lineup. Like at this show, there was 1 Olympian, and at the show you came 6th place, there was 7 Olympians. So it's not the same show. You can't base your improvements or self-worth off your placing unless it's the exact same head judge, the exact same lineup, which will never happen. But you should be able to see if you're improving or not. And, you know, based off your pictures and comparisons of yourself. Like if you fucked up proposing, or you weren't lean enough, or you were too soft, or if you were too lean, or you were too soft, or you're posing, you made a mistake, or your tan was off, or your suit was off, or you could have been fuller, or you need more glute density. Like you could see those things, and that's how you progress. If you're just basing your overall self-worth on whether you won or lost, you're going to be pretty sad a lot of the time, and you're going to give up and quit very soon. Look at Lorelei, for example, right? She had the most up and down career I've ever seen in pro bikini. She came top 2 in 2018 at Olympia, and she was like the next, like going to be the next bikini all-star. Then she came second to Janet at like a Philippine show, then came 6th to the Arnold, which was her worst look ever. And she just completely like went from second place Olympia, gonna win next year for sure, to 6th place at the Arnold and lost like 5 girls, and she just was at the bottom. And then she had like work her way back up for 2 years. And then she came like, we started working together. Then she came 5th place at Olympia, then 4th, then 2nd. We stopped working together, and then she came 5th and then 4th. So it's just like up and down, up and down. So I imagine she just gave up because of how she placed at one of these shows.
Every time she kept working on the feedback she was receiving.
She made improvements from show to show sometimes, but obviously, let's say like Olympia, like the year before last, where she came 5th, or even last year, like the year she came 5th, I think it was in 2020, if we stopped working together, 2022, she was like too depleted. And last year she was too soft. If she just gave up, she could never win the Olympia. But if she continues competing, eventually she should win if she nails it on that one day. It's really tough when you lose, when you're supposed to win. Look at Jen Dory. She won the Olympia, then she lost, and then she won it back. She could have been like, oh, fuck this, I'm going to quit. Which would be okay too. But now she came back and won it again. As long as you're improving and you were true to yourself and didn't lie to your coach or yourself, and you did everything you need to do in prep, and your body looks better than it did, then that's a win. And hopefully it's enough for you to win the show. But if it's not, like at the top level, if an Ashley is doing your show and she's a top 3 Olympian, it's like an Olympic athlete, bronze medalist doing a local show, like you're not going to beat her. It doesn't matter how good you look and you come second to her. Are you going to be mad? No, like you're not on the same playing field. That's an Olympic athlete versus you, which is probably not a top bikini Olympian yet. So you can't be mad at that. And let's say you do the Pittsburgh Pro where there's like 14 Olympians in it, and you come 6th or 7th, and you're not a top Olympian. That's pretty good. You can be like, well, I won last pro show and now I'm 6th at Pittsburgh. It's like, yeah, but who beat you? Are you losing to pros, or are you losing to girls that are good Olympians? It's a totally different playing field. So you can't base your placing on that. But if you're doing all the work you were told to do and you're following everything your coach told you, and you look like shit every year and you never place good, well, is it your genetics or your guidance? That could also be a thing to evaluate. So don't necessarily go off the placing. Go based off of how you're looking compared to the other girls. Do you think your posing is adequate and comparable to other girls? Are you building more glute density? Do you look more symmetrical than last show? Did you nail your peak? Was your conditioning perfect? Was your fullness perfect? Could you have been better in those weights? Could your coach have been better in peaking you?
I do your checklist. Like, okay.
Or year to year. You know?
Which area did make improvement?
Be objective. Don't just be like, my placing last year, I won everything, and this year I'm second in everything, and feel like you wasted the whole year.
Technically, no.
You did everything and you actually improved and you're objective and you can actually see these things. Well, then that's how you should base your progress, not based off your placing from show to show. It doesn't make any sense.
Quick question about Maxine. Do you think your general look has improved a lot with her breast augmentation? Do you think it has an impact on her scoring?
People that say that breast augmentations don't make a difference in your score, 100% it does, because it helps your symmetry. Like, your breast can be way too big. It can throw your symmetry off. But let's say you have wide clavicles and your glutes are full and your legs are full and you're very flat up here. It will make a difference. I told Priscilla, she won her pro card, but I see a big difference between your front pose and the other girl's front pose next to you because she has large implants and you don't. And there is a difference in the balance. Her delts are perfect, her glutes are perfect, her legs are perfect, but there is something missing there. To be competitive as a pro, you're going to need breast implants. Even though judges say you don't, depending on your genetics, it does make a huge difference on 95% of girls. If you're flat versus have some fullness there, it will make a big difference on your symmetry. On Maxine, it's a huge difference. On Jennifer Dory, if Lorelei got them too, it would be a huge difference, but I don't think she will, but it would be a huge difference. So is something you need to do to compete? No. Can you turn pro without them? I would say you could definitely turn pro without them. But if you look at like Jordan, I can't remember her last name, but Jordan, she's a pro, pretty blonde athlete on Cash's team. Go look at her front pose when she didn't have breast implants versus now at Miami. Go look at the difference with that. It's a huge difference. So it does help symmetry, and it's not something you should get just to compete. But if you want to get it in real life, plus utilize it when you're competing, then definitely it will help you unless you don't get 1,000 cc's. Because it could hinder you too. Like, let's say you're 5'2" and you have like 1,000 cc's. It's going to throw your balance way off because your delts are going to look too small, and it looks like there's an asymmetry there. But if you get a reasonable amount, helps your balance. I mean, it's going to help your placing regardless of if it's on the criteria or not. It just balance is in the criteria, and that will help your balance. Priscilla at Toronto, I told her there's a girl there, Jordy. Her front pose is crazy, but she has nice implants, and it just makes her waist look a lot smaller and gives you a much more like a better. But Priscilla still beat her, won her pro card, and the girl came third in her class. The girl just has a huge advantage because she does have the implants versus her. And if Priscilla does have the implants, her waist would look 30% smaller, and it just would give her a lot more symmetry from top to bottom. So
Priscilla has a long torso.
Exactly, it's a very long torso and waist.
By having implants, it will make our waist smaller.
Maxine
right?
too, like her clavicles are so wide, like the implants game changing. Like it's not even close to front pose. How much it, even if you gain no muscle and just add the implants, it's a huge difference. Huge difference. So it does help your symmetry a lot, but don't get it just to compete. But if it's something you want to do in real life, then definitely consider it because it will help you. Last year in October, I went through all the Olympia winners and top 10. Anyways, it says, is it necessary to have breast implants to compete? Absolutely not. Are they mentioned specifically in the bikini criteria? Do they contribute to improving your overall balance, shape, and symmetry on stage? Yes, 95% of the time, as long as they're not too big for your frame. So I did a look. Top 10 Olympia bikini athletes with breast augmentations per year. I looked at all of the top 10 bikini Olympians every year since Bikini Olympia started. And I wrote down how many of the top 10 each year had breast implants. So 2011 was the first year of bikini, all 10. 2012, all 10. 2013, all 10 had breast augmentation surgery. 2014, all 10. 2015, all 10. 2016, all 10. 2017, all 10. 2018, 8. 2019, 8. 2020, 7 had it. 2021, 9. 2022, 8.
Interesting.
So out of 120 bikini athletes that have ever been in the top 10 from 2011 to 2022, 91.6% had breast augmentation surgery. So if you're telling me that doesn't make a difference, then look at these numbers. The numbers, I mean, they're there. 2021 was our first year of bikini or wellness Olympians too. 10 of them, 10 out of 10, 2021 had breast augmentation, and 2022, 9 out of 10. So it does make a difference. If you look at the average population of women in the United States, how many actually have breast augmentation surgery?
A lot.
91.6%. You know what I'm saying? So the numbers are very skewed in that direction. And it's not because they're not looking at your breasts and be like, oh, her breasts are better than the other one. It just helps your symmetry. And these numbers, obviously, I didn't do 2023 yet in 2024, except for Laura Lee is the only one that always doesn't have. So it's always going to be like 9 now since she started competing. So it does make a difference. I think that'll sum up this podcast, and I hope you guys learned a thing or two. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below on YouTube or on Instagram, or you can reach out to me in a DM or
by email, inquiries.
So hope you have a great day.